They expected the fleeing forces to scatter and die. They had no High Arbiter. Velkesh stood on his flagship bridge, watching his empire crumble. The massive viewscreen showed chaos. Council ships firing on each other, human vessels holding position, waiting, and worst of all, his own commanders ignoring his orders. Traitors, he hissed. All of them traitors. Scholar Nixara stood under guard nearby, but she showed no fear. They are not traitors, High Arbiter. They are soldiers who finally opened their eyes. This war was wrong from the beginning. Velkesh turned his cold gaze on her. You dare lecture me? I have ruled the council for 2 centuries. I have brought order to dozens of chaotic worlds. I have built the greatest civilization this galaxy has ever known. You built an empire on slavery and fear, Nixara replied. The humans have shown us what that empire truly is. A hollow shell that collapses the moment someone has the courage to resist. Velkesh raised his hand to strike her, but his guards did not move to help him. They simply stood there, weapons lowered, watching. The realization hit him. Even his personal guards no longer obeyed. He stumbled back to his command chair and activated his personal terminal. If his commanders would not obey, he would take matters into his own hands. His flagship carried the most powerful weapon in the Council arsenal. A planet killer. Designed to crack worlds that resisted too strongly. He would use it on Earth. He would destroy the human homeworld and everyone on it. Then the others would remember why they feared him. Activate the Void Breaker, he commanded. Target Earth. On the human side, sensor operators detected the massive energy buildup immediately. Admiral Tejo looked at the readings and understood what was happening. The flagship is charging a superweapon, his tactical officer reported. Power signatures indicate planet-destroying capability. Time to firing, 4 minutes. Tejo felt ice flood his veins. They had won the battle but might still lose everything. He opened channels to all human ships. All vessels converge on the Council flagship. We must destroy it before it fires. This is our last chance. Captain Jiwoo received the order and immediately changed course. The Indomitable and every other human warship that could move turned toward Velkesh's massive flagship. But they were too far away. Even at maximum speed, they could not reach it in time. Commander Thrazul saw what was happening. He understood what Velkesh intended. The Mad Arbiter would destroy Earth and everyone on it just to salvage his pride. Thrazul could not allow it. He opened a channel to Captain Rickson and several other reformist commanders who had joined the rebellion. The flagship must be stopped, he said simply.
Will you help me?
Rickson did not hesitate. Yes, what do? We attack it ourselves now. 20 council ships broke formation and accelerated toward Velkesh's flagship. Their former comrades, now their target. They opened fire. The flagship's shields absorbed the first barrage, but the continuous fire began to weaken them. Velkesh screamed orders, demanding his remaining loyal ships protect him. Some moved to intervene, firing on Thrazul's forces. The space around the flagship became a confused melee. Council ships fighting each other while the humans raced to get into range. 3 minutes to firing, the tactical officer reported. Lieutenant Dalnim, flying her fighter at maximum acceleration, saw what needed to happen. The big ships could not get there in time, but fighters could. She opened a channel to her squadron. All pilots, follow me. We are going to stop that weapon. How? One pilot asked. We do not have the firepower to damage a flagship. Dalnim smiled grimly. We do not need to damage it. We just need to fly into the weapon emitter and block it when it fires. Our explosions should disrupt the beam. There was silence on the channel. Everyone understood what she was proposing. A suicide mission. But then, one by one, the other pilots acknowledged. With you to the end, Lieutenant. Captain Jiwoo heard Dalnim's plan over the tactical network. She wanted to order her to stand down, to find another way. But there was no other way. Lieutenant Dalnim, Jiwoo said, her voice tight with emotion. Thank you for your service. All of you. Humanity will remember. Dalnim and her squadron accelerated toward the flagship. Point defense weapons tried to stop them, but the fighters were too fast, too agile. They weaved through the defensive fire, taking losses but continuing forward. On Earth, people watched the live feed from the battle. Parents held their children. Soldiers stood at attention. Everyone knew what was happening. Everyone understood the sacrifice being made for them. Admiral Tejo watched Dalnim's fighter racing toward its target. He had sent so many people to their deaths during this war. Each one weighed on his soul. But he knew they had chosen this. They fought because they believed in something worth dying for. 1 minute to firing, the tactical officer said quietly. Dalneem could see the weapon port now, a massive opening on the flagship's bow. Energy crackled around it as the planet killer charged. She pushed her fighter to absolute maximum speed. Behind her, the other fighters in her squadron followed. They would all die. But Earth would live. Then something unexpected happened. Captain Jiwoo, watching from the Indomitable, made a decision. She ordered her ship to maximum emergency speed, pushing the engines far beyond their safety limits. Captain, the engines will not survive this, her engineering officer protested. They do not need to survive. They just need to get us there. All power to engines now. The Indomitable shot forward with impossible speed. Jiwoo aimed her ship directly at Velkesh's flagship. She would ram it. Her massive warship would do far more damage than a squadron of fighters. Captain, what are you doing? Admiral Taeho demanded over the comm. Saving those pilots, Jiwoo replied calmly, and ending this war. It has been an honor serving with you, Admiral. She cut the connection before he could argue. She turned to her crew. Anyone who wants to evacuate has 30 seconds to reach the escape pods. No one moved. Her crew stood at their stations, proud and ready. Then let us finish this together. The Indomitable crossed the final distance in seconds. Velkesh's flagship tried to evade, but the massive vessel was too slow. Jiwoo aimed for the weapon port, where the planet killer was reaching full charge. Lieutenant Dalneem saw the Indomitable coming and understood. She pulled her fighter up at the last moment, clearing the way. The other fighters followed her. The Indomitable struck the flagship at full speed. The impact was catastrophic. Both ships' shields failed instantly. Metal tore like paper. The Indomitable's quantum drive, already pushed beyond its limits, exploded with the force of a small star. The explosion consumed both vessels completely. High Arbiter Velkesh, Scholar Nixara, Captain Jiwoo, and thousands of others died instantly. The planet killer weapon, on the verge of firing, detonated in its housing. The combined explosions created a miniature supernova that briefly outshone every other light in the solar system. When the light faded, both flagships were gone. Nothing remained but debris and radiation. The battle stopped. Every ship, human and council alike, simply stopped fighting. The sheer scale of the destruction stunned everyone into silence. Admiral Taeho stood motionless in his command center, staring at the display. Captain Jiwoo was gone. Scholar Nixara, who had risked everything for peace, was gone. So many others, all gone in an instant. But Earth still stood. Humanity survived. Commander Thrazel broadcast a message to all remaining council ships. This is Commander Thrazel. High Arbiter Velkesh is dead. The war is over. All council forces will stand down immediately. We will withdraw from this system and begin negotiations for a lasting peace. He paused, then added, the humans have earned our respect. Let us not waste more lives in a war that should never have begun. Slowly, the council ships powered down their weapons. The humans did the same. Lieutenant Dalneem flew her damaged fighter back toward the fleet, tears streaming down her face. Captain Jiwoo had saved her life and the lives of her entire squadron. She would never forget that. Ambassador Kyung-soo immediately opened diplomatic channels with Commander Thrazel and Captain Rixon. There was much to discuss, much to negotiate. But for the first time, both sides were willing to talk instead of fight. On Earth, people watched the battle end and wept with relief and grief. They had won, but the cost had been terrible. Thousands of soldiers dead, ships destroyed, cities damaged by falling debris. Captain Jiwoo, their hero, gone forever, but they were free. The council would never threaten them again. Admiral Taeho addressed the world. His face was haggard, his voice heavy with exhaustion and sorrow. Today, humanity stood against an empire that believed itself invincible. We paid a terrible price. We lost friends, family, heroes. But we proved something that the galaxy needed to see. We proved that freedom is worth fighting for, that dignity cannot be taken, only surrendered, and we will never surrender. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Captain Jiwoo gave her life so that Earth could live. Scholar Nixara died trying to bring peace. Thousands of others, human and alien, paid the ultimate price. We honor them by building a better future, a future where species meet as equals, not as masters and slaves. That is the galaxy they died for. That is the galaxy we will create. Over the following months, negotiations continued. The council, now led by Commander Thrazel and other reformers, agreed to disband. In its place, they would create two The standoff entered its third day. Korvax's flagship was split in half. The Dracul controlled the bridge and engines. The humans held 3 decks, including life support and weapon systems. Neither side could move without risking the entire ship. In the council chamber, emergency sessions ran around the clock. 73 species argued about what to do. Some wanted immediate military action. Others called for negotiation. A few, led by Velthar, suggested something radical. Apologize and release the humans. We provoked this situation, Velthar said. His voice was calm despite the chaos around him. We imprisoned them without cause. They defended themselves. By our own laws, they have done nothing wrong. A council member from the Threxian Dominion rose to object. They took control of a council vessel. They assaulted our warriors. These acts cannot go unpunished. They took nothing, Velthar replied. They merely refused to remain helpless. There is a difference. The debate continued, but it was interrupted by a new alert. Long-range sensors had detected something. Ships, many ships, coming fast from human space. The council chamber fell silent as the data appeared on screens. 50 warships. Human design. Military configuration. They would arrive in less than an hour. How is this possible? Someone asked. Our intelligence said humans had no fleet of this size. They barely reached space travel 50 years ago. Velthar felt his worst fears confirmed. We saw what they wanted us to see. Humans have been preparing for first contact for decades. They knew we were watching. They let us underestimate them. On Korvax's flagship, Taemin received a coded transmission through the compromised communication system. He smiled. The cavalry had arrived. He activated the ship-wide broadcast system. His voice echoed through every corridor, reaching Dracul and human ears alike. Commander Korvax, members of the Galactic Council, I am Taemin of Earth. I speak now as an official representative of humanity. Our fleet has arrived. They carry one simple message: return our people or we take them back. He paused, letting the words sink in. We came here in peace. We wanted friendship. You answered with imprisonment and violence. We defended ourselves with restraint. We could have destroyed this ship. We chose not to. We could have killed your warriors. We chose not to. Every choice we made was toward peace. But our patience has limits. On the bridge, Korvax listened with growing dread. The human's voice was calm, reasonable, and absolutely certain. There was no threat in his tone, no anger, just a simple statement of fact. That made it more terrifying. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 50 vessels arranged in perfect formation. They took positions around Korvax's flagship. Weapons were armed but not targeted. The message was clear without words. We can destroy you, but we would prefer not to. Admiral Day-Wan opened a channel to the council. His face appeared on screens throughout the council chamber. He was an older man, perhaps 60 years old, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of authority. I am Admiral Day-Wan, commander of Earth's defense fleet. You have imprisoned my people without cause. You have subjected them to interrogation and psychological torture. You have attacked them when they defended themselves. These actions are acts of war. He let that statement hang in the air. However, humanity does not desire war. We desire understanding. Release our people, allow diplomatic negotiations, or refuse and learn what humans do when peaceful options are exhausted. The council erupted in panic. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to negotiate. A few wanted to flee. Velthar stood and raised all 4 arms. The gesture demanded attention. Honored members, I will tell you something about humans that you need to understand. They are not bluffing. Look at their formation. Perfect spacing. Every ship positioned to provide covering fire for others. They have trained for this scenario. They have prepared for war while hoping for peace. That is the human way. Velthar accessed his private files and shared them with the council. Historical records from Earth. Images and videos that painted a picture of humanity. Look at their past, Velthar said. They have fought wars that lasted years, decades, generations. Wars that killed millions. And after each war, they learned. They adapted. They became stronger. Every conflict drove innovation. Better weapons. Better tactics. Better strategy. He showed them images of nuclear weapons, cities destroyed in moments. The council members recoiled. They developed weapons that could destroy their own planet. Then they chose not to use them. They created rules, treaties, agreements that prevented mutual destruction. They achieved peace not by eliminating conflict, but by making conflict too costly. That is wisdom born from suffering. Another image appeared. Humans and wolves together. Dogs sleeping with human children. Cats purring in human arms. They domesticated predators, Velthar continued. Every species in this chamber fled from the apex hunters of their worlds. Humans befriended them. They saw creatures designed to kill and chose to find common ground. That is the duality of humanity. They are predators who choose cooperation, warriors who prefer peace, and that makes them more dangerous than any purely aggressive species. The council chamber was silent. They were beginning to understand. Korvax made his decision. Pride had brought him to this point. Pride would not save him now. He opened a channel to his bridge crew. Stand down. All weapons offline. Prepare to release the prisoners. His officers looked shocked, but they obeyed. Korvax opened a channel to Taemin. The situation has escalated beyond my authority. The council will negotiate your release. You and your crew will be returned to your vessel unharmed. Taemin's response was immediate. That is acceptable. We will stand down. But Commander, one thing must be clear. We are not asking permission to exist in this galaxy. We are offering partnership. There is a difference. The crew of Resilience was escorted back to their ship. No chains, no guards pointing weapons. The Dracul warriors who had fought them watched with a mixture of respect and fear. These humans had beaten them with creativity and determination. That earned acknowledgement, if not friendship. Haya Jin was the last to leave. She stopped at the airlock and turned to face Korvax. The Dracul commander stood tall, but his posture showed defeat. You are a skilled warrior, Hyejin said. In another situation, I would be honored to fight beside you. But you made a mistake. You assumed weakness because we looked different. That is a fatal error in any conflict, Korvax nodded slowly. I underestimated you. All of you. It will not happen again. Good, Hyejin replied. Because the galaxy is big enough for all of us. But only if we respect each other. Back aboard Resilience, the crew gathered on the bridge. They were exhausted, bruised, but alive. Admiral Daewon's face appeared on their communication screen. Good work, Resilience. You held out against impossible odds. Earth is proud of you. Taemin smiled wearily. Thank you, Admiral. But the hard part comes next. We need to negotiate with the Council. Turn this crisis into an opportunity. Agreed, Daewon said. Chancellor Young-Mi is already preparing Earth's position. We will not join the Council as subordinates. We will join as equals, or we will not join at all. The Council called for peace talks. A neutral station was chosen. Both sides would send representatives. The humans would present their case. The galaxy would listen. Velthar watched the preparations with cautious optimism. He had tried to warn the Council about humanity. Now perhaps they would finally listen. But he also felt a sense of pride. He had been right about the humans. They were special, different. Dangerous, yes, but also capable of great wisdom. He sent a private message to Taemin. Simple words, welcome to the galaxy. We have much to discuss. Taemin read the message and smiled. The elder Krythan had been trying to protect them all along. That was worth remembering. As both fleets prepared for the journey to the neutral station, no one noticed the faint signal detected at the edge of the system. Long-range sensors picked up something strange. Ships, thousands of them. Coming from beyond mapped space. Moving with purpose. The ancient enemy had returned. And neither humans nor the Council were ready for what was coming. The neutral station floated in the void between territories. It had been built centuries ago as a place for peaceful negotiations. Council representatives arrived first, nervous and uncertain. The human delegation came next, led by Chancellor Young-Mi herself. Young-Mi was in her 50s with sharp eyes and a diplomatic smile that revealed nothing. She had led Earth through difficult times before. First contact with an entire galactic civilization was just another challenge. The negotiation chamber was circular, with seats arranged in a ring. No one position held more importance than another. The Council had designed it that way to show equality. Young-Mi appreciated the symbolism. Velthar opened the proceedings. We gather here to address the unfortunate events of recent weeks. The Council acknowledges errors were made. We wish to establish proper relations with humanity. Young-Mi stood. Thank you, Elder Velthar. Earth appreciates the Council's willingness to negotiate. However, we must be clear about our position. Humanity will not join the Council as a subordinate member. We offer partnership, not submission. Several council members objected immediately. The Threxian representative was loudest. Impossible. Every species joins the council under the same terms. Established structure has maintained peace for thousands of years. You cannot expect special treatment. Taemin, sitting beside young Mi, spoke up. We do not ask for special treatment. We ask for fair treatment. Your structure was designed by species who had no contact with others until the council found them. Humanity knew we were being watched. We prepared accordingly. The situations are not comparable. You spied on us, young Mi added calmly. For decades you observed Earth without revealing yourselves. You studied our wars, our technology, our culture. You made judgments about humanity based on incomplete information. Then when we finally reached space, your first action was imprisonment and interrogation. That is not how equals treat each other. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species saw the logic in young Mi's words. Others felt threatened by human assertiveness. The debate raged for hours. During a recess, Jiwoo approached Velthar privately. She had been studying council records and something troubled her. Elder Velthar, may I ask you something? Jiwoo said. I've been reviewing genetic data from council species. There are similarities that should not exist. Different worlds, different evolutionary paths, yet certain genetic markers appear across multiple species. Velthar's compound eyes focused on her. You're observant. Very few have noticed that pattern. It suggests genetic engineering, Jiwoo continued. Someone modified your ancestors. The Dracul especially. Their genetics show clear signs of artificial enhancement. Built for combat. Built for war. Velthar was silent for a long moment. Come with me. There is something you need to see. He led her to a secured section of the station. Ancient records protected and hidden for thousands of years. Velthar accessed files that few council members knew existed. The council was not formed by choice, Velthar explained. Thousands of years ago, an ancient race called the Architects controlled this region of space. They created species, modified them, used them as soldiers in wars we do not fully understand. When the Architects disappeared, their creations were left behind. We formed the council to survive. Jiwoo felt her blood run cold. You were slave soldiers. The entire council is built on species designed for war. Yes, Velthar said. And that is why I warned the council about humanity. You were not created by the Architects. You evolved naturally. You are what we could never be, truly free. That makes you dangerous to the established order. But it also makes you our best hope. Hope for what? Jiwoo asked. Velthar pulled up another file. Images of ships. Thousands of them. Ancient design, but still functional. The Architects may be gone, but their enemies are not. We have detected these ships at the edge of mapped space. They are moving toward council territory. They are the ones who destroyed the Architects. And we have no idea how to fight them. Jiwoo immediately understood. That's why you wanted humans in the council. You think we can help fight these enemies, not think. No, Velthar replied. Council species were designed with specific purposes. We are predictable. Our tactics follow patterns built into our genetics. But humans? You are chaos. You adapt. You improvise. You find solutions no one else would consider. That is what we need. Jiwoo returned to the negotiation chamber with this information. She whispered to young Mi, explaining what she had learned. The Chancellor's expression never changed, but her mind was already working through the implications. When negotiations resumed, young Mi took a different approach. Honored council members, I have learned something that changes our discussion. You face a threat. An ancient enemy approaches. You need humanity not because we are strong, but because we are different. We can offer solutions you cannot imagine. The chamber fell silent. Several council members looked at Velthar with accusation in their eyes. He had revealed the secret. It is true, Velthar said. The enemy comes. Within weeks they will reach council space. We can continue arguing about hierarchy and protocol, or we can prepare for survival. I choose survival. Korvax, who had remained silent until now, stood. His defeat aboard his flagship had changed him. Pride no longer clouded his judgment. I fought the humans, Korvax said. I lost, not because they were stronger, but because they fought in ways I could not predict. Every tactical assumption I made was wrong. They turned my own ship against me. They defeated superior numbers with creativity. If the enemy is as dangerous as Elder Velthar claims, we need that creativity. His testimony carried weight. Korvax was a proud warrior admitting defeat. That meant something to the council. Young Mi sensed the shift. Earth will help. not as subordinates but as allies. We will share our knowledge, our tactics, our technology. In return, we ask for equal representation in council decisions, fair trade of resources, and respect for human sovereignty. The vote was called. It was not unanimous, but it was enough. Humanity was admitted to the Galactic Council as a full partner. The first species ever granted equal status immediately upon contact, but the celebration was brief. Admiral Daewon received an urgent message from his fleet. The enemy ships had accelerated. They would arrive much sooner than predicted. Days, not weeks, he shared the news with the Council. Panic spread quickly. Species began preparing to evacuate their worlds. The carefully maintained order started to collapse. Young Me stood again. Panic helps no one. We have days to prepare. That is enough time if we work together. Admiral Daewon will coordinate defense. Elder Velthar will share all information about the enemy. Every species contributes what they can. We stand together or we fall apart, the Council agreed. They had no choice. Yejin was given command of a joint task force. Human and alien ships working together. She began training sessions immediately, teaching Council captains human tactical doctrine. The aliens struggled with concepts like acceptable losses and calculated retreats. They had been designed for glory, not survival. War is not about honor, Hyejin told them. War is about winning, and winning means staying alive longer than your enemy expects. Humans learned that lesson through thousands of years of conflict. We will teach you. Meanwhile, a human engineer named Kyung-soo worked with Council scientists. He had designed the shield modifications that stopped Dracul void missiles. Now he applied that same innovative thinking to enemy weapon systems. The architects built these ships, Kyung-soo said, studying the ancient records. That means they follow architect logic, predictable, efficient. But efficiency has weaknesses. We just need to find them. Jiwoo and Velthar worked together, searching through ancient data for any clue about enemy weaknesses. They found something interesting. The architects never retreated, ever. In thousands of recorded battles, not one retreat. That suggested a fundamental programming flaw. They cannot comprehend tactical withdrawal, Jiwoo said. They fight until victory or destruction. That means they are vulnerable to traps, to ambushes, to strategies that require temporary retreat. Velthar understood immediately. Humans retreat all the time. You see it as a tool, not a failure. The architects never programmed that into their creations. They considered it weakness. Exactly, Jiwoo replied. And that is how we beat them. The enemy fleet arrived ahead of schedule. They ignored the neutral station and headed straight for Council headquarters. The attack was coordinated, overwhelming, and merciless. Council defenses crumbled within hours. Young Me watched the devastation from Earth's flagship. The enemy was stronger than anyone had imagined. But she had expected this. Humans always planned for the worst. She gave the order. All forces retreat to human space. We make our stand there. The Council members who survived the initial attack fled with the human fleet. Some called it cowardice. Hyjin called it survival. And survival was the first step toward victory. As they escaped, Taemin looked back at the burning Council headquarters. We failed to protect them. Young Me shook her head. No, we saved who we could. Now we prepare. The enemy thinks they have won. Let them think that. Overconfidence is a weakness we can exploit. The remnants of the Council fleet followed the humans toward Earth. Behind them, the enemy pursued. They expected an easy victory. 7 days had passed since the crew of Resilience was imprisoned. Korvax reviewed the interrogation reports with growing frustration. Nothing was working. The Dracul used methods that broke most species within 3 days. Isolation, sensory deprivation, psychological pressure. They would separate prisoners, tell them their crewmates had betrayed them, offer deals that required only submission. It worked on every species they had tested, except humans. In her cell, Jiwoo sat cross-legged on the floor. Her eyes were closed. To her guards, it looked like meditation or perhaps despair. In reality, she was listening. The ventilation system carried sounds throughout the ship. Footsteps, conversations, mechanical hums. She was building a mental map of the vessel. A Dracul interrogator entered her cell. His name was Vektar, and he considered himself an expert in breaking spirits. Your commander has agreed to cooperate, Vektar said. It was a lie. She has provided us with Earth's defense codes. Your resistance is pointless, Jiwoo opened her eyes. She looked at him calmly. That's interesting. Commander Heejin doesn't know the defense codes. Her clearance level isn't high enough. You would know that if you had actually spoken to her. Vektar's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of irritation. The human had just called his bluff with logic. Your biology is fascinating, Jiwoo continued as if they were having a friendly conversation. The color changes in your scales. It's similar to Earth's cephalopods. They use it for communication and emotional expression. Do your people struggle with deception because your bodies give away your feelings? Vektar left the cell without another word. The human had turned the interrogation around. She was studying him instead of breaking under pressure. In another section of the ship, Taemin faced his own interrogator. They tried a different approach with him. They offered cooperation, join the council, share human technology. Earth would be protected under council law. Taemin listened carefully. He asked questions. Many questions. About the council structure. Which species held power? How decisions were made? What laws governed member worlds? He was polite, engaged, seemingly interested. The interrogator thought he was winning. In reality, Taemin was gathering intelligence. Every answer revealed weaknesses in the council's political structure. Divisions between species, resentments, power struggles. Information that would be valuable later. Tell me about the Krythan, Taemin asked. Elder Velthar seems wise. Does he hold significant influence in the council? The Krythan are old and cautious, the interrogator replied. They fear change. Velthar spreads paranoia about new species. Most council members ignore his warnings. Taemin filed that information away, so Velthar had tried to warn them about humans. Interesting. That meant at least one council member understood what humanity represented. That made Velthar either an ally or the most dangerous enemy. Time would tell which. Meanwhile, Commander Hyojin had been the most difficult prisoner. She refused to speak at all. For 7 days she had maintained complete silence. Her interrogators tried everything. Threats, promises, isolation. Nothing worked. What they did not realize was that her silence was deliberate. While they focused on breaking her, she focused on the ship. She counted guard rotations, memorized shift patterns, noted when the brig was least defended. She tapped messages through the walls every night, coordinating with her crew. On the 8th night, Hyejin made her move. She had noticed that the cell doors used a magnetic locking system. Simple, effective, but vulnerable to electromagnetic interference. She had spent days creating a crude electromagnet from components in her prison uniform. The metal fibers in the fabric. The power conduit running through the wall. Primitive, but sufficient. The lock clicked open. Hyejin moved silently into the corridor. 2 guards were on duty. She approached the first from behind. Her hand struck his neck at a precise point. Humans had studied pressure points for thousands of years. The guard dropped unconscious. The second guard turned. Hyejin was already moving. She used his momentum against him, redirecting his charge into the wall. He collapsed. She took his weapon and communication device. She freed Jiwoo first, then 3 other crew members. They moved through the ship like ghosts. Hyejin had memorized the layout from guard conversations. She knew exactly where to go. They reached environmental control. Jiwoo's expertise became crucial. She examined the atmospheric systems. The ship maintained specific pressure and oxygen levels optimized for Dracul biology. Humans could survive in a much wider range. Can you change it? Hyejin whispered. Jiwoo smiled. Better. I can create zones. Some sections normal for Dracul, other sections adjusted for humans. We'll be fine in their atmosphere. They'll struggle in ours. Her fingers flew across the control panel. She had studied the systems during her imprisonment. The ship's computer was sophisticated but predictable. Within minutes, she had reprogrammed it. Alarms began to blare. Korvax woke in his quarters to emergency alerts. Impossible. The humans were locked in maximum security cells. How could they have escaped? He rushed to the command center. The situation was worse than he imagined. The humans had taken control of 3 decks. They had sealed bulkheads, modified life support. His soldiers could not reach them without environmental suits. How is this possible? Korvax roared. They are prisoners. They have no weapons, no tools, no knowledge of our systems. His second-in-command looked terrified. Commander, they used the ship against itself. They understand our technology somehow, and they're adapting faster than we can respond. In the council chamber, Velthar watched the crisis unfold through security feeds. He felt no satisfaction at being proven right, only sadness. The council had ignored his warnings. Now they would learn what humans were capable of when pushed. He opened a communication channel to Korvax's ship. "Commander, I strongly advise you to negotiate. The humans have shown restraint so far. They could have killed your guards. They chose not to. That mercy will not last if you escalate." Korvax cut the channel. He would not take advice from the paranoid elder. He would retake his ship by force. He assembled his best soldiers. 200 warriors in full combat armor. They would storm the human-controlled section simultaneously. Overwhelming force. No mercy. In the captured section, He-Jin gathered her crew, 30 humans against 200 Dracul. The odds were terrible. But humans had overcome worse odds throughout their history. "They're coming," she said calmly. "We cannot win through direct combat. So we don't fight them head-on. We use the environment. We use their expectations against them. Remember, they think we're weak. Let's show them what weakness really means." Jiwoo had prepared surprises. Corridor sections that would seal and depressurize. Gravity fields that would shift unexpectedly. Lighting that would strobe at frequencies that disoriented Dracul vision, but barely affected human sight. The ship itself had become their weapon. Tae-min, finally freed from his cell, stood beside Hye-jin. "If we survive this, we need to get a message to Earth. The Council is dangerous, but they're also divided. We can use that. First we survive," Hye-jin replied. "Then we plan." The Dracul assault began. Soldiers poured into the human-controlled sections from 4 directions. Korvax watched from his command center, confident in his overwhelming numbers. The first wave hit Jiwoo's traps. Gravity shifted. Warriors in heavy armor suddenly weighed 3 times normal. They collapsed under their own equipment. The second wave encountered atmospheric changes. Their suits compensated, but slowly. Humans moved through the altered environment with ease. Hye-jin led a small team in hit-and-run attacks. They knew the corridors. They knew where the Dracul would be vulnerable. They struck fast and disappeared into ventilation shafts too small for armored warriors. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Dracul had retreated, not because they were defeated in combat, but because they could not adapt to the constantly changing battlefield. The humans had turned a military assault into a game of environmental chess, and humans had been playing chess for thousands of years. Korvax stared at his casualty reports. 60 warriors incapacitated, 0 humans killed. It was humiliating. It was impossible. It was terrifying. For the first time in his life, Korvax understood what Velthar had tried to tell them. Humans were not strong because of their weapons or their technology. They were strong because they never stopped adapting. They turned every disadvantage into a tool, every weakness into a trap, and somewhere in the depths of space, Earth's defense fleet received Velthar's warning. Admiral Daewon read the message 3 times. His expression never changed, but his mind was already calculating. His people were in danger. That meant war was coming. He gave the order. 50 warships prepared for immediate departure. Earth's best and brightest. They would reach Council space in 6 days. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you threatened humans, nothing good. The stars reflected off the viewing window of the Galactic Council chamber. 73 species had gathered for an emergency meeting. At the center of the circular room stood Velthar, an elder of the Krythan race. His insect-like body stood perfectly still as his compound eyes surveyed the room. He had called this meeting, and everyone knew why. Beyond the 3rd spiral arm of the galaxy, humanity had finally reached the stars. For decades, the Council had watched them. They studied human wars, their violence, their chaos. Now human ships traveled beyond their solar system. First contact was no longer a question of if, but when. Velthar raised one of his 4 arms. The chamber fell silent. His voice came through the translation device, steady and grave. "Honored members of the Council, we must discuss the humans. I have studied them for 30 years. What I have learned frightens me." A laugh echoed through the chamber. Korvax, a member of the warrior Dracul species, stood from his seat. His scaled body towered over most beings in the room. His yellow eyes gleamed with amusement. "Frightened? Of the humans?" Korvax's voice dripped with mockery. "Elder Velthar, with respect, I have reviewed your reports. These creatures took centuries to reach space. My people conquered our entire solar system in half that time. They are weak, soft-skinned beings who fight amongst themselves. What threat could they possibly pose?" Velthar remained calm. He had expected this reaction. He activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the center of the chamber. "Look at their world," Velthar said. "Gravity 1.5 times what most of us consider normal. Oceans that cover 70% of the surface. Weather patterns that can destroy cities. Predators that evolved alongside them. The humans call their planet a paradise. We would call it a death world." The images changed. They showed wolves running beside humans. Dogs sleeping in human homes. Cats curled up on human laps. "They domesticated predators," Velthar continued. "Every species in this council fled from the apex hunters of their worlds. Humans befriended them. They turned wolves into companions through patience and understanding. What does that tell you about their nature?" Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Others remained unconvinced. Korvax crossed his arms. "It tells me they are sentimental fools who waste resources on pets," Korvax said. "Elder, you worry too much. When they enter council space, we will do what we always do. We test them. If they submit, they join. If they resist, we contain them. Simple." "I urge caution," Velthar said. "Humans are persistence hunters. On their world, they did not need to be the fastest or the strongest. They simply outlasted everything else. They tracked prey for days, weeks if necessary. They never gave up. That trait did not disappear when they reached space." The council erupted in debate. Half agreed with Velthar's caution. Half saw humanity as just another young species that needed guidance. In the end, they voted. Korvax's position won. They would intercept the next human vessel and test them. Standard procedure. Velthar left the chamber with a heavy heart. He had tried to warn them. Now they would learn the hard way. 3 days later, the human exploration vessel Resilience detected something on their sensors. Commander Haijin studied the readings from her command chair. Her dark eyes narrowed. 5 ships unknown configuration, reported the sensor officer. They're positioning themselves around us. Taemin, the ship's diplomat and first contact specialist, stood beside Haijin. He was younger than her, only 34 years old, but Earth had trained him for this moment his entire life. "First contact," he said quietly. "This is it." "Could be hostile," Haijin replied. Her hand hovered near the weapons control. "Their formation is aggressive." A communication channel opened. A translated voice filled the bridge. It was Korvax. "Human vessel, this is Commander Korvax of the Galactic Council. You have entered Council-monitored space without permission. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with force." The bridge crew looked at Taemin. This was his area. He took a breath and activated the communication system. "Commander Korvax, I am Taemin, representing humanity and the Earth government. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations. We were not aware this space was claimed. We will gladly participate in proper first contact protocols." There was a pause. When Korvax spoke again, his tone was dismissive. "There are no negotiations. Power down now or we will do it for you." Ji-Woo, the ship's xenobiologist, whispered from her station. "They're testing us. This is a dominance display." Heejin's jaw tightened. She had served in Earth's defense forces for 15 years. She recognized a trap when she saw one. If they powered down, they were defenseless. If they resisted, they gave Korvax an excuse to attack. Taemin made a decision. "Commander Korvax, we will comply under protest. Please note that Earth will be informed of this encounter. We expect our crew to be treated according to interstellar law." "Your expectations are irrelevant," Korvax replied. Heejin powered down the engines. She whispered to her crew. "Remember your training. Stay calm, stay alert. We're not helpless just because we're complying." The Dracul ships moved in. Boarding tubes extended. Armed soldiers entered Resilience. They were efficient and brutal. The crew was separated. Taemin was taken to one section, Haijin to another. Ji-Woo and the others were scattered throughout the Dracul flagship. As they dragged Taemin through the corridors, he memorized everything. The layout, the number of guards, the positions of security cameras. His mind worked like a machine, cataloging details. Haijin did the same. She noted the shift changes, the guard rotations, the weak points in their security. Years of military training had taught her that being captured was not the same as being defeated. Ji-Woo, despite her fear, observed her captors with scientific curiosity. Their scales suggested a hot climate origin. Their movements indicated high gravity adaptation. Their armor had weak points at the joints. Information was a weapon too. In his cell, Taemin sat quietly. A Dracul guard watched him through the transparent barrier. The guard expected fear. Instead, Taemin smiled politely. Interesting ship design, Taman said. The architecture suggests a civilization at least 5,000 years old. Your people have a rich history, I'm sure. The guard said nothing, but Taman saw the slight surprise in his posture. The human wasn't acting like a prisoner. He was acting like a guest making conversation. It was unsettling. Across the ship, He-Jin tested the walls of her cell. She tapped in rhythmic patterns. Morse code, an ancient Earth communication method. She was sending a message to anyone who might hear. The walls conducted sound. If any of her crew were nearby, they would understand. 3 cells away, Jiwoo heard the tapping. She smiled. The commander was already organizing resistance. Jiwoo tapped back. Message received. In the council chamber, Velthar watched the security feeds from Korvax's ship. He saw the humans being imprisoned. He saw their calm demeanor. He saw them analyzing their surroundings. His worst fears were confirmed. The humans were not breaking. They were adapting. Velthar activated a private communication channel. He sent a message to Earth. The council would consider it a violation of protocol. He did not care. Someone had to warn humanity what was coming. Someone had to tell them their people were in danger. The message traveled faster than light, crossing the vast distance between stars. It would reach Earth in 3 days. The question was, would it arrive in time? On Korvax's flagship, the Dracul commander reviewed reports from his guards. The humans were too calm, too observant. It made him uncomfortable. He decided to increase pressure. Tomorrow the interrogations would begin. He would break them quickly and prove to Velthar that humans were no different from any other weak species. He had no idea he had already made his first mistake. He had given the humans time to think, time to plan, time to adapt. And humans, when given time, were extraordinarily dangerous.